Are you new to gardening? Haven't got a clue? Really want to grow some beautiful veg? Seen it all on Instagram and really fancy it? Or are you one of those people who normally just throws their seeds in and sort of makes it up as they go along? Sometimes get some good stuff, sometimes, more often than not, get some bad stuff. Well, why don't you join me today as I show you how to plan a vegetable garden. And definitely that when it comes to gardening, prior preparation prevents poor performance. So that's better. Touch warmer in here than it is outside with a nice cup of tea. So, you're all excited, you've decided to grow a veg garden. You've managed to get hold of a load of seed catalogues from the local suppliers of all their beautiful coloured photographs, and you're raring to go to buy some seeds. First thing you want to do, step away from the seed catalogue. Put it away, don't think about it for the next half an hour. You know what we do, you look into the seed catalogues, you see all the lovely photographs, and you think to yourself, oh, I'm going to have that one, I'll have that one, oh, I'll have some of them, oh, they look nice, I'll have some of them, oh, what about some of them, oh, I think I should have some of them as well. Before you know it, you've spent $100 on lots of different seeds, and most of it you probably won't even eat, and most of it you're definitely not going to be able to grow. So the first thing to do, like I said, step away from the seed catalogue, put them in the drawer, forget about them for your first bit. By the way, excuse the tangle of lights behind me. Mrs F is mid-organising young Ethan's 10th birthday party tomorrow. And he's got a Harry Potter theme, so she's trying to knock up a bit of a Great Hall of Hogwarts vibe with all these lights going on behind me and all around me. And in case you're wondering what these tins are behind me, these are what I keep my seeds in downstairs in the cold cellar. Basically old peanut tins, and I find it a good way to keep them in good condition. So the next thing you want to do is think about how much space you've got to actually grow your vegetables. I'm quite lucky here. I've got this whole area behind me and another area the other side of my shed to grow my vegetables. But you might only have a small area. So what you want to do is measure it up. If you've got raised beds, measure all the beds up. If it's just in the ground, just measure the area. If you've got any pots, if that's all you're going to be doing is growing in pots, count up the number of pots, and you know that's going to have a major bearing on what you're going to be able to grow. So have a look at your area. Draw a picture of the area. You know, get some measurements, how big your beds are. If you've got, if you're going to put some raised beds in, you know, 6x4s, whatever it is. Just have a general drawing of the actual area. Think about using vertical space as well as horizontal. As you can see here, I've grown this squash up this chicken wire type wall, and that works really well because it was only a 6x4 bed, and I've been able to use the vertical space there. And here I built this A-frame type structure to grow these button-up squash up, and I only had a little box to grow them in, but there I used the vertical space again. And my favourite, here I've straddled 2 beds to grow these, my favourite vegetables, runner beans, up these frames. And the good thing about that is you're not wasting space with the frame inside the actual bed itself. It's straddling a path, and then when it comes to actually picking the beans themselves, it's a lot easier because you can go under and you don't miss any of the beans. So as I said, think about that vertical space as well as the horizontal. Most vegetables need a good 6 to 8 hours of sunshine every day to grow really well. So you obviously need to make sure that your veg area gets a good amount of sun. South is that way in this garden, so I know every day my vegetables, all these plots here, are going to get a good amount of sunshine. So that is very important. So next thing you want to do is to make a list of all the veg you want to grow, and then prioritise the ones that are your favourites. again, we look through these seed catalogues and we like all the colours and oh yeah, I love some of that and some of that. Or you're going on Instagram and you see all these wonderful photographs of all these different weird and wonderful fruit and veg. And you know, you're seduced by the colours. But at the end of the day, the majority of us are growing our vegetables to eat. So really, you want to grow the vegetables that you really like. Make a priority of those. To me, first things are runner beans, peas, tomatoes, potatoes. So they're going first down on my list, and first things I think about when I'm buying some new seeds or seed potatoes, etc. So make that list, and then once you've made that list, you want to see, you know, what's the best growing conditions for them, how much spacing do you need between each plant, etc. And I realise this sounds a bit of a malarkey, but it doesn't take long, and that's half the excitement of growing your veggies, planning what you can do and, you know, and how they're going to grow, etc. So, you know, you can look at the spacings, and you've already made a plan of your veg bed. So you can look at the spacings and think about the other things you want to know is obviously when am I going to plant them? Do I have to plant them indoors, or can I direct sow them outdoors? 75% I reckon of your average vegetables that most people are going to grow in the garden can be planted direct sown outside. And I would recommend, as a new gardener, if you are a new gardener, that's the way you do it, first of all, because it's a lot less hassle. You haven't got to, you know, think about planting all these seeds indoors and getting special lights and all that sort of malarkey. All you got to do is look at the seed packet, direct sow them outside, and with a bit of luck they'll come up. So that's what I would recommend first. But again, jot down between each, you know, next to each vegetable when you're going to plant it outside, etc. On your actual map. Now, I said grow one drawing of your plot, but I would actually recommend creating about 6 to 8 copies of that. And then what you can do is label each one with a month. So, and then you're straddling the whole growing season. And the reason I say that is because one of the big things that a lot of gardeners miss from an efficiency point of view is succession planting. And what that is you know, maybe you've grown your peas early in the season and they're sort of done by the start of July. Take all the peas out, you've got a gap there. But then you can grow something after that. But you have to be planning that up ahead. And you can maybe put some broccoli in there to be growing through and be ready for in the autumn time. But you've got to plan for that. And a good way of doing that is by creating, as you can see here, what I've got is, that's July. So that's my planting plan for July. But then I've created another copy, and that's August. So for every single month, all the way through the growing season, starting for me in April, with a bit of luck if there's no late snow, but starting in April, I know what each of my beds is going to have in it, ish. You know, the thing about planning is all plans fail on contact with the enemy. It's an old service saying, you know, but basically what that's saying is things are going to change. So, but at least you've got a general idea through those months of when you're going to have different veg in the beds, when you're going to harvest that veg, and when to get ready for gaps. So when those peas comes out, a couple of months before that maybe, I wanted to sow the broccoli that I'm going to put in that bed in the greenhouse in pots, so that I've sort of got a head start. Or maybe it's just as it's just me making sure that I've got some broccoli seeds to put in that bed. So that's one of the most important things is making a plan. And we'll go through this plan now. So as you can see, it's my planting calendar 2020. It's all posh, made it into a bit of a booklet. And what I do is I've started with all the hopefully the different veg that I'm going to grow throughout the year. And as you can see, I've got runner beans. I've got a fairly big garden, so I've got runner beans, bush beans, sweet corn, peas, carrots, etc., etc. And I've got all those different veg, the type of veg, and then it's like the date sown, the date I potted them up, because I'll be sowing some stuff indoors, date planted out, the harvest date, or when I think that harvest date is going to be. You don't have to get that meticulous. The point is, all you need to have is a list of all the veg you want to grow, because then you can know what you're going to buy. And then I have my first plan, and that is in April. And on the page before that, I've got when I'm going to sow some things. So I'll be sowing some things indoors. So here it says February, I'm going to sow some onions, multi-sow indoors at the end of Feb. Sow some spring onions the same. In March, it says I need to sow my tomatoes inside and the different types of tomatoes I've got. And then April, sow sweet corn indoors, sow beans indoors again. My first outdoors, sow peas outdoors. So as we can see, where are my peas? Bottom bed down there, I've got my peas, and I've filled that bed now with some peas. And then that just goes all the way through the months like I showed you before. In May, I'm starting to sow a second batch of carrots. So in April, I've first sown my carrots, but I don't want a full bed worth of carrots in one go. So what I do is I succession plant my carrots. So every couple of weeks, I'll sow a couple of rows. So that's another good idea, is not to plant all of your seeds in one go, is to plant a couple of rows, then leave it a couple of weeks, then plant another couple of rows. And by having my calendar, I remind myself, by looking at this every month, that this is what I've got to do. So there's another good reason why you should do yourself a planting calendar. Quick sip. So we've seen this, we've looked at the space that we've got to grow your veg. You've drawn yourself a plan. You've prioritised and listed the actual vegetables that you want to grow. You've looked at when you're going to need to plant them, how much space you need, when they're going to be harvested. You've jotted that down on your planting calendar, and then you can even, like I said, visually put them down on your map, and I do that through the season. So now you can get your seed supplier catalogues out of that drawer and start to think about what varieties that you're going to grow and how much you got, because you've listed it all down on your calendar, on your list, how much space you've got, so how much you need, and now you can buy just one packet of those tomatoes instead of 6 packets, because you know you've only got space for those tomatoes. And you can buy a couple of packets of different peas, because you know that you want to really love peas and you want a couple of different flavours of peas. So then get your catalogues out and get ordering. And then you can get yourself all excited like I am now, because I know exactly what I'm going to plant and where and when. So happy planting, and definitely happy planning. Job's a good one.